Indeed, when you are speaking from the customer's perspective, the regulators really do not protect customers. And the regulators need to be told in the face, they need to up their games. Because it's the customers that come with the money that is invested. And it's not government that should be protected. Government is too big. So if you go on the side of government, you create more problem. I'll illustrate what Dr. Duanani said with a circular that came from the central bank. They say the old bonds, they will not admit it for capital adequacy computation. That creates problem. Who issued the old bond and who issued the new bond? It's the same government of Ghana. So what is it that you're trying to do? So look, we need to get a regulator to appreciate the fact that they need the investors, so they should work with the invested rather than the government. Then number two, the major problem we have as a people is we've structured ourselves believing that it's government that can look after all of us. We are deceiving ourselves. Government can't look after all of us. They will look after themselves before thinking about us. So we need to realign and say, if we are mobilizing money for investment, it should be productive things, not necessarily challenging through government. And that is where I will come back, that look, we need to develop the capital market properly. Now, another challenge we have with regulation is our inability to regulate conduct. Now, the regulators will tell you they can't regulate character, but at least we can regulate conduct. We know people have misbehaved, but they are walking on the streets and they are still very loud. People have lost their monies. We are doing nothing about them. If you take what has happened to the US, they came out to say that they won't use taxpayers' money to resolve the issue. It tells you that they build safety nets. But where is our safety net? Personally, I have money with one of these institutions that still carries the license of Bank of Ghana. I can't access the money. Nobody is telling me anything. I mean, where is the confidence? So we are doing many things wrong. In as much as we try to encourage investment, look, we should tell the powers that be that they should start doing the right thing to encourage us to get into the investment space and do the proper investment. Above all, let us work to drop the inflation. If you tell Dr. Bing to invest and he's getting returns lower than what he gets when he's doing his trading, I mean, he's a rational being. What he would do is to overtrade, not to give money to government and to be told that whether we call it haircut or whatever it is, that's a loss to him. And that is his pension being taken away from him. So we should resolve to do what is right, and that will serve us well. Not many of us understand the financial issues. Now, when you find yourself in this kind of situation, you want to address the trusting behaviors. And the very first one is, I have to rely on somebody. So I need to rely on the financial market players. Just like when I'm sick, I go to the doctor, and I want to believe that the doctor will give me the best of care. And my understanding is that the doctor should know more than I do. So that's the first line. And we need to get the people who play in that space to appreciate this fact and not be opportunistic behaviors. Number two is we have something of value which is at risk. That is why we are engaging the people in the financial services sector. Now, if we don't have anything of value, we will not even talk to them. There is something that matters to us, and we are concerned about it. We want to get it protected. We want to get it to appreciate. That is why we engage them. And again, they don't have to abuse that. Number three is we know that we have goals, we have aspirations. We know we'll get to a point the strength to work will no longer be there, and we want to rely on our investment. We know we have children who must go to school, so we are saving money towards people going to school. So we need to engage these players to appreciate these things. Now, what you see very often is when these players put emphasis on themselves instead of the customer, then we start getting the problem. So of these three things I mentioned, the bottom of it all is that me as an investor, My success depends on the quality of decision the financial players make. And our problem is the quality of the decisions we make.
Okay.
I'll give you a very little one. I didn't know Mr. Buama before. I just saw him here. Now, some few months back, I engaged him on phone, and I wanted to invest. And I told him government would default. He said no. We argued. And I said, perhaps you know something I don't know. Government will default. What happened? He is the person I'm relying on. And I've heard people say we must make informed decision. But where is the information to make that informed decision? Now, if you go on the website of this financial institution, skeletal information, at least I have some bit of education. I try to look at the numbers. You don't get enough details. If you pick the banks, just oppose them, the words they use to describe various things differ. It's not standardized. So how do I make that analysis? So we have a problem of behavior or character that we must seek to be talking about. If we can address that, nobody is saying there'll be no risk. Nobody is saying that. And nobody is saying that we do not appreciate the fact that there are trust mechanisms built into our society. Now, for instance, if you take the banks, you are asked to reserve something with the central bank. That is the primary reserve. You have your statutory reserves. Additionally, you are asked to buy insurance. That is the deposit protection insurance, which they pay for. Those are mechanisms to engender confidence. Fantastic. Similarly, if you take the insurance companies, they have what they call the rescue fund. They have the mechanism of leveraging on other institutions, that is reinsurance. So if there's a claim, they can readily take money from various places to pay your claims. Now, if you take pensions, it has an interesting structure where they introduce trustees and introduce custodians. So trustees don't see the money. The money is run through custodians just to protect it. But when you ask yourself the critical questions, are they following the mechanism we put in place? The answer is no. So we make it so easy for the system to fail. And what has happened to us is our own making. I mean, we can talk about all kinds of excuses. And nobody is saying that with the best of intention, there wouldn't be failure. It's possible. And that's why we put in the mechanism. But when we set out to do what is wrong, look, it's certain that we will fail. And so what has happened to us is our own making. If you want me to trust you, which I need to, then we need to start putting up the best of behaviors. Reverend talked about the macroeconomic environment. We need to make our students of development. Prof talked about the political issues. We need to find a way to start correcting that. Look, there's no way we will move away from the financial system. They are part of us. Investment we will continue to do. The elephant in the room is inflation. How do we bring it down? How do we get people to behave properly? How do we, when we mobilize resources, how do we put it in the best of investment? The MD of the stock exchange talk about investing properly. How do we identify those projects that will serve us well so that our resources will channel? Look, we just need to prop ourselves and be one another's keeper and serve as a check on one another and demand that we do things properly. If we start doing things properly, yes, we'll be on course. If we start disclosing information, even on the stock exchange, how many of the people listed on the stock exchange, I'm talking of the entity, disclose enough information that independently you can do the analysis? I used to work elsewhere in my previous life. The company was listed. I have a shareholder from South Africa who will call and will spend about 1 hour with me asking all manner of questions. How many of our people here has the ability to ask those questions? Not many. But unfortunately, that's what we are rather abusing, and that's what is creating the problem. So my point is that let us all start behaving properly, because we are all hurting. Even if you leave your money in the bank, you are not even sure. Look, I'll tell you my own experience. 2019. They said KYC. I should bring the biodata page of my passport. I did. 2 weeks after, somebody went, forged my signature, took all the money, 2 accounts, and closed the account. A bank in this country. I went to the MD and I said, I won't take this from you. We got it sorted out. About 3 months ago, a niece of mine, one of the big banks in this country, she was outside. Somebody went into her account, transferred money to a certain mobile phone, 30,000. The case is still running. I have even run it with the supervisors. The banking supervisors is still hanging. I give you another case. I ran an insurance brokerage. So we should not limit the issues to bank and securities. Now, my best client, I did a policy for them. We dotted the I's, we crossed the T's. There was a claim. We went to the insurance company. They wouldn't pay. I ran to the regulator. They called us. There was a ruling in our favor. The regulator says pay. They won't pay. Then I went back to the commissioner and I said, what's happening? In my presence, he called the MD of that insurance company and said, you must pay by Friday. That was last year. Even as I speak today, they haven't paid. Issues of trust. The issues are real. And we need to develop our financial services sector. So we must start behaving properly.
For more news, please visit our website, graphic.com.gh, or follow us on Facebook at Daily Graphic and on YouTube and Twitter at GraphicGH.
Subscribe now.